non-traditional occupations that come in as a pilot project, and we'll work with them for 2 years. A demonstration project is someone using a apprenticeship in a traditional occupation, but they're using the new regulations to approach it in a non-traditional way. And so they are effectively demonstrating to the state what these new regulations can mean even in a current registered apprenticeship program. We've now accepted 3 pilots and 1 demonstration project. They're in information technology, computer health worker that I mentioned, health information technology, and solar installation. And those projects are underway, and we expect more. And as these come online and we create significant awareness within the state, we're going to use that as the impetus to launch a significant career and technical education outreach to explain the significance of that within the state. We're committed to this on 2 fronts. That earn while you learn, particularly in this economic downturn, is critically important. And helping our state understand the importance of the occupations that aren't related to 4-year college and university degrees is equally important in changing public perception and creating public support. So that's essentially what we're doing. That's why we're doing it. That's how we're selling change. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm also delighted to be here with you this morning and really happy that I had the opportunity to be in yesterday's sessions and to talk to some of you. I would certainly echo the comments that my fellow panelists have said relative to the importance of apprenticeship, how we look at education and preparing our workforce, our youth entering the workforce, as well as those who are in it who may be shifting for a variety of reasons. But before I get into my formal presentation, I wanted to just make a couple of comments about our system, because understanding the system is going to be important as I go through the presentation. In Michigan, we really have a very consolidated workforce system, and when we say system, we are including several of our state departments. We're including our unions, our community colleges, our K-12, because in Michigan, everybody sits at the table, and our workforce policy all goes through our state council, which was established under WIA, and every player is at that table. Our faith-based organizations, community-based organizations, and others representing special populations. But within the state, the Department of Energy, Labor, and Economic Growth, which is where I am, has lead responsibility. And we have responsibility for the WIA funds which come into the state, those for workforce as well as those for post-secondary education. We have the TANF funds in Michigan that are used to support employment, the Wagner-Pizer dollars, and therefore we're responsible for running a public labor exchange system, and the trade adjustment assistance dollars. In much better times, we've also had responsibility for significant amounts of state dollars, but that amount has really decreased over the years. And so as we talk about what we've done with apprenticeship in the system and move forward, you need to understand that all of those partners are a part of what I'm saying. And the other comment that I wanted to add, and I had some discussion with this last night, for years, apprenticeship has been something that was pretty well known, although fragmented in Michigan. The process that you're going through really helped us to pull together and to move forward in a strategic way with apprenticeship. So, we're delighted with it. I'm going to go through a number of steps just to indicate what we did process-wise, and you'll see that it will kind of follow what you're doing. Our timeline, which I think is important. Our team attended a summit such as this in December of 2008. We went back home and in January really formed what we call the Michigan Apprenticeship Action Team. In government, we're into acronyms, so it's MAT. In May of 2009, after a lot of meeting, after bringing other partners to the table, we came up with an action plan which we submitted to the Department of Energy, Labor, and Economic Growth, then to our state workforce board, and it was adopted late in that year. In June of 2009, we held our first Michigan Apprenticeship Action Summit, and we brought together over 200 folks from all of the different areas that I've talked about to talk about how we implement the plan. In 2009, we implemented what's called the Michigan Registered Apprenticeship Program, also one of the recommendations that had come from the work group, and then we revised policy on that in 2009. Our members on the Apprenticeship Action Team are represented here. State departments, and I think this is really crucial. Department of Energy and Labor and Economic Growth was the lead agency, but the Department of Treasury is there. The Department of Human Services, which is where our social services activities take place, is there. The Department of Agriculture, and we had Military and Veteran Affairs at the table with us, as well as the others that you see here, and we also brought in faith-based and community organizations. Every time we met, we started our meeting with all hands on board, realizing that we didn't all start at the same place, but we're all reaching to get to the same place together, so we've kind of used that symbol. We had several goals, and I've highlighted in this presentation the three major ones. And certainly the first one was to expand and integrate registered apprenticeship throughout all of our workforce development systems through partnerships. In Michigan, all of our post-secondary skills training that is funded by federal or state dollars is under what we call No Worker Left Behind. And there are guidelines into the terms of the type of training because it is employer-driven, and oftentimes the training is actually designed by employers, and much of it through sector approaches. But as you see, we wanted to do the integration. Our second goal was really to develop and implement the comprehensive outreach efforts. This is the language that comes out of the plan, but one of the things that was paramount to us was understanding that there was a tremendous need for education about registered apprenticeship, for folks to understand what it is and what it is not, to understand how it can have long-range impacts, and also to understand how diverse it is. So our team actually sat down, developed a subgroup on communication, targeted a number of different type of outreach activities, going to trade associations, to different summits that were being held in our state, making presentations at community colleges, public service announcements over TV and radio across the state, just promoting apprenticeship, and then meeting with a variety of employer associations and developing materials for distribution. We launched on August 12th the Michigan Registered Apprenticeship Program. We launched it initially by targeting $1 million of our ARRA funds to support it, and it really is a program that was designed to incent employers to bring new apprentices on board. Initially, they received $1,000, which they could use in any way to support the apprentice. And that might be to offset some wages, it might be to cover some training, but that was left up to their own discretion. And we decided we were going to try to have 100 new apprentices through this program, and this shows how we distributed the money. Well, we found out, though, that $1,000 really didn't seem to have a significant impact, and we were into major impact. So we revised the policy, and now we provide $5,000 for each new apprentice. $2,000 of that can be used by the employer, again, to offset costs at their own discretion, but $3,000 of it must be used for the related training for the apprentice itself. This really coincides, again, with our larger No Worker Left Behind strategy, where we provide up to $5,000 a year for a 2-year period to support post-secondary skill training in areas that are employer demand-driven. Partners and responsibilities here, just to really show you that it is very aligned and coordinated. DLEG is responsible for the policy development. We are actually responsible providing the funds that go out, and again, primarily it's our WIA dollars and technical assistance for implementation of the program. USDOL works as a partner with us on an almost daily basis, providing technical assistance and also certifying that new apprentices are in fact in registered apprenticeships before they move through our system. The MWA here refers to our Michigan Works agencies, and that's what we call our 25 local boards. Everyone in our program is registered into the WIA program. And so they're in our system, we can track them, and we can also use other WIA dollars to support other types of activities. And finally, we use all of our other partners to go out to help with promotion, to provide other supports and supportive services we mention here, because this is really where we brought in so much of the faith-based and community-based organizations. We really have a very strong mentorship component. We believe in this program, as in so many others, there is a need for a support system, and as we've really tried to target some of those individuals who are not traditionally in apprenticeship, we believe that there was an even greater need for that support, so it is structured in our program. This I won't go through, but in the PowerPoint, I believe you don't have it in your presentations. It's an example of how one of our agencies really moves a person through this system, from the point that an employer brings an apprentice on board and provides information to the local agency that the individual is in a registered apprenticeship certified after August 1, and how they go through a system of determining what their needs will be and the processing for funding that I've talked about. A big key for us is leveraging funds. And this is just a list of all of the different types of funds and resources that we leverage to support apprenticeship. The WIA dollars, the ERA dollars, Michigan Rehabilitation Services receives funds from the Department of Education to serve disabled individuals, so there's a very strong component there. We have the Veterans Administration there, because one of the things that we also do in DLEG is to certify post-secondary institutions' curricula for which veterans can receive their GI educational benefits. The unions work closely with us, obviously a major source of training in those apprentices that are unionized apprentices. The various tax credits, and again, I think this is why it's so important to talk about educating. Employers really need to know that there are tax incentives available that are connected with apprenticeship. Because the TANF dollars support our public assistance population, they're all eligible for the Pell Grants. We use that to help offset education costs. And then, of course, some of the other legislation that's passed provides other kinds of incentives. We were concerned about what the impact would be. Earlier I said our target was to increase the number of apprentices by at least 1,000. And in our first year we did that. We started with a little over 8,700 apprentices, so we were way ahead of South Carolina. But now we're at about 9,750, and the count is still rolling with these ERA dollars. We've also really expanded the diversity within the apprentices, because we have been known as an automotive state and our economy is so driven by it. In Michigan, when people think of apprentice, there's a tendency to think that everything is auto-connected or manufacturing connected. The reality is that most of the apprentices in Michigan are in our non-unionized areas, but as we looked at our economy and where we're going, we really looked at diversity. Pharmacy technician, in the healthcare there are a number of different apprentices, IT specialists, and of course the auto diesel mechanic, janitorial. So we're just looking to use apprenticeship in any way that we can. And the other thing that we wanted to do with our team was to really strengthen the relationship from the state, federal, and local level. We certainly think we've achieved that. There are a lot of other partnerships that have sprung off on other kind of projects, and we see that on an ongoing basis. And the big thing, of course, is to increase the awareness of RA opportunities, and so we've done that as well. As we look forward to our next steps, we do plan to help to propose and draft and support legislation that will further this. Some of it will be focused on state procurement processes, some of it at some of our state licensing practices and the coordinationship with apprenticeship. We want to more actively engage the K-12 system, and I should say we want to be more active with them. One of the things that we did was send out literature on apprenticeship to every school district in our state, and with it an offer to have some of us come in and talk about registered apprenticeship at a variety of different school functions. And I really have to say, at this point, the requests have been greater than we can really meet. So we know we need to do more in that area, because we want folks to consider this as just another opportunity, just as you've talked about, right from the beginning of the time we talk about career exploration. We're also looking for ways always to pursue additional funding. We've got some ideas for some pilot programs that we're going to run, and we're working with some foundations on some of that. And the other thing that we're going to do is support the expansion of what we've called apprenticeship readiness and programs. As we looked at many individuals who are non-traditional in the definition of an apprentice, we also know that there are lots of needs that have to be met. And so we really have a strategy to prepare individuals to be ready to take exams to go into apprenticeship. Some of that involves remedial education, some of it is basic soft skills, but all of them are curriculum, and they're in 3 areas now that were designed working with employers, with contractors, and in some instances with our union officials. So we have one in the road construction industry, we have one that's dealing with environmental alternatives, and we also have one working with our utility company.